Now, what is that proper respect? Which I am not seeing. Today, my son and my wife, after 4 o'clock, are on a boat. Left Florida on its way to the Bahamas and other places. My son is getting married to a young lady on the boat. They having boat and the honeymoon and everything like this. You say, well, why I am not there? I have other obligations, and my wife is representing me. But why is he marrying this young lady? Is the young lady pregnant? No, that's no reason to marry. That would be the last reason to marry, because somebody pregnant. You marry because you have a certain feeling for a woman, and your economics is correct. You see, he's got a very good job. He should have had a business, but he got a very good job. She has a very good job. Now that's logical basis for marriage. You can't be no job, waiting on mama and daddy, and you so much in love that I got to marry. You ain't got a pot to piss in, no window to throw it out of, and you gonna get married. Huh? Now you said, as long as I love him and he loved me, you can start together like that and die. No, I told my son, if she's good enough to lie in bed with, then she's good enough to marry. You're not doing no heaven and God and nothing like that. I told my son, do not lay in bed or the ground with what is not good enough to be a wife. So that if she gets pregnant, now dealing with the possibilities, because there are possibilities. If when you're laying with her and she gets pregnant, you ain't got no problem marrying her, because before you lay with her, she's good enough to be a wife. So then if there's an emergency, you do it voluntarily. Her mother or father don't have to talk to you about it, because you start out respecting her, knowing that she has the capacity and quality to be a wife. Now if she doesn't have that, masturbate before you lay with her. Because you don't want your child being born from any and anything. You understand? And if she's not of the quality that meets the standard of your family, then don't touch her. You understand? Now, and that's part of what we have lost. And that's part of why there are so many sisters who have children and swear if she see the brother, she will throw a pot of hot lye on him, or at least she desired to do it even though she don't have the strength to do it. I could understand it, because the ethical and philosophical aspect that our ancestors came under, we have given this up for the Western love. So thus we say, on the day of our betrothal, the day we decided to marry the man or marry the woman, depending on the case may be, we say the same day, I want to be as far from my mother-in-law as I can. Shouldn't we want to be as close to our mother-in-law as we can? What happened to the extended family? Well, we don't. Because we said, as soon as I'm old enough, I'm going to move from my mother's house. Because now we are modern. We get rid of a pair of shoes as soon as it's walked on 3 times. So as soon as I feel that I'm a man, I keep getting it hard on, and it's not to pee. It is time to move on, and that's our ethics. Whereas when we go home, the daughter cannot move from her mother's house. No more can the son move from his mother's house until they're married.
Dr. Yusuf Ben-Jochannan calls for a return to African principles as the foundation for restoring the dignity, strength, and unity of the black community. He emphasizes that Ma'at, a system rooted in balanced truth, justice, order, and reciprocity, is not just an ancient philosophy, but a guidance for living that can still liberate and uplift black people today. Dr. Ben-Jochannan insists that by reconnecting with our African roots and by living by the moral codes of Ma'at, we can resist the cultural decay that has infiltrated our communities through generations of colonization and oppression. A central point in the lecture is Dr. Ben-Jochannan's reminder to black men of their sacred duty to protect the dignity of the black woman and the black household. He explains that the household was once the cornerstone of African society, a place of respect, unity, and purpose. The erosion of this foundation, he argues, began when black people abandoned their traditions and began modeling their behavior after their historical oppressors. In doing so, they adopted values that do not align with harmony or balance, leading to fractured families and diminished community strength.
Well, that protects the dignity of the woman. It protects the dignity of the household. It protects the ethical value, because what it's saying, why countries that have that kind of behavior, take Egypt, where a man, if he's Muslim, can have as much as 4 wives. Yet there are very few families where a man have 2 wives, much less 4. It is not economic only. It is because marriage is regulated by the family. And a man cannot move from his mother's house, no more can a woman, unless they are married. If you do, the family will read you out. If you marry, for example, and your work take you from one town 100 miles away to another town another 100 miles away, and your family live in this town, and let's say you have to come to this town for a reason, it is impolite to the point of the family reading you out of their family. If you should go to a hotel and not to your mother or your aunt, you must stay with a member of your family, even if you have to sleep on the floor. Because how could you go to a hotel and not to a member of your family? That's the ethics. Now think of it. Think of yourself. How do you feel about that? That isn't the training you had. That's not the training you had in the church. That's not the training you had in the synagogue. That's not the training you had in the mosque. And that's why we are failing. We are failing because we have taken the European value, not realizing the reason the European developed this. He had an ice, a piece of metal to dig a hole in it, to pull out a fish, one fish, to support that little family. So he had to kill off a certain amount of the girls when they show up. He developed a psychology based upon what he called a family. This little unit, leaving out his old grandmother and grandfather. And that psychology we have adopted because we are educated in his schools. Even our universities and our colleges, when we say it's a black president, a black vice president, a black everything, even a black toilet cleaner, but the curriculum is a European white curriculum. And that is, as I wind down, and that's what I mean. And I can't change my projection because I have seen the result of what I'm talking. And for the last 53 years of struggling in this arena, I have seen successes and failures. The successes that I've seen are based upon when the African man, woman, or child approach whatever they are doing from an African perspective. Yes, it is the hardest way. It is the hardest way, yet I feel some sort of a comfort when I speak to Mrs. Laurie Welch. You don't know the person. I'm talking about a woman who married a man, and in 7 days after the marriage, he's dead. And I spoke to her every morning for the last 8-9 days. And I called her. I could expect the entire story of how she was at the hospital, how he died. She cannot open a conversation with anyone unless going through like a record, a tape recorder, because the pain is so strong. She can't deal with it without repeating herself and going over this tragedy. Is it because she wants to? No. It's a compelling reason beyond her control to do this. It's her dying devotion to this man that she can't as yet accept that he's dead. It is the same, somewhat the same as me this morning dialing 926 9425. I got to 9269 and then said, what are you doing? The man is in the funeral parlor. Because every morning, practically when I'm in New York, I was dialing Mrs. Laurie Welch's husband, Aubrey Welch, to say, are we going to eat champagne, or are we going to eat in 22 West? Or he's dialing me. Or sometimes I'm dialing Sister Kefa, or sometimes Sister Kefa is dialing me, or sometimes somebody is in the circle where we live, and the circle of friends that we have. And in the circle of friends that we have, the reason the pain is so much is because there is an aspect of African reality that we have gone back to. There's an esoterical base to the way we live. Some of us demonstrated by the African clothes we wear and other things. Some of us demonstrated by our behavior pattern in public to our sisters and brothers and to our loved ones. And some of us demonstrated in other ways. But to me, it is most important that I live a rigid African life. Yes? 53 years, and it has had some economic deprivation. But the beauty and pain I feel give me the love Mrs. Laurie Welch feels. Though she feels this love for a man who is now lying in the funeral parlor, the love she feels for her husband is no different than the love I feel for the work I'm doing. Because you cannot separate the esoterical feeling from the exoterical reality. Love is expressed, and it's hard to give a one definition of the term, but the love for one's people is like the love for a mother, by a mother for her child, or a woman for her husband. For in either case, one is willing to put one's life as the ultimate price. And I say, the love that the woman shares for her child, for her man, it is time that that love be returned to her by the African man. And we are way behind. I say way behind because when we walk out and leave our child, 99% of the time, the African mother nourished that child. Yes, sometimes she even must take on another man, or 2 men, or 10 men, or do something else, or steal, or prostitute, or do something. But that love, and that's the love I'm talking about, it is a disease. And I hope that we get an epidemic. Thank you. No, I went before.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ben. Now you have an indication of the type of contributions that was referred to. And I think that we should really express our love and appreciation for Dr. Ben and all of these things. For the sisters and brothers who came in late, are the sisters and brothers from Philadelphia here? Did they come? No, okay. For those of you who came in late, sisters and brothers, your attention please. For those of you who came in late, we would like you to know that you can make a donation to Dr. Ben. Most of us did. So just in case you came in late, we don't want you to feel left out. We don't want you to feel neglected. We would like you to make a contribution. Just make sure you leave it at the table before you exit. The announcements are next week, First World Alliance, Mount Zion Lutheran Church, 145th Street and Convent Avenue at 4 p.m. Brother Velo Namale will be there, lecturing on the Dalits of India. Sunday, he will be here at 4:30. And sisters and brothers, if you kindly keep it down, please. And we'll ask you to make sure that you make a special effort to be back here, because you will see the continuity of what Dr. Ben has just shared with you. The other bit of information I have to share with you is,
in whatever fighting goes on in Egypt is between Egyptians and Egyptians. Egyptians who are fundamentalists and Egyptians who are Sunni. And that is at a very mild state. Let me give you an example. In Israel, the statement is that every 15 minutes, some sort of explosive explodes, and most of the time, somebody is killed. That's every 15 minutes, every day. In Ireland, it's about every half hour, somebody is killed. But nobody suggests that they don't go to Israel or Ireland to visit. The crime rate in Egypt is less than 0.5% among 55 million people. What I can say, I go all over Egypt. Just the other day, 2 weeks ago, I took my travel agent, Alkin Toshirifa, to Egypt from one end to the next down in Aswan, so that people could see the safety. Number two, we take it from another position. The fundamentalists have no argument with black people whatsoever. The argument is with the European, and even so, there is no major violence. You can go, for instance, you go to in Egypt, you go to Cairo, to the American embassy, and they got a list of countries to be careful when you're traveling. They even list Egypt right there in Egypt, but Israel isn't listed.
tell it.
Is it a coincidence? I mean, when you talk about violence, there's no place beat Israel when it comes to violence. But nobody goes because most of your travel agency in New York are owned and run by Jews. So to knock out Egypt, put more travelers going to Israel. You can see by the carloads of people from the Bible Belt goes to Israel, and a handful will come from Israel to see the pyramids. And the pyramids are the least of the things you want to see. Yes, the pyramid, especially at Khufu, is a magnificent structure, big, colossal. But that's a minuscule of the things you want to see. You want to go to the Valley of the Kings, you want to go to Dendera, Abydos to see the basic things that we need to know. And I suggest that I would not encourage you to come. You know why? If I thought there would be something wrong, I wouldn't encourage you because I'm on the same trip. I may be on the same, I will be on the same bus. If we had 3 buses of people, I'm going to be on your bus because I move from one bus to the next. Anybody could tell you, and I sit on your bus, and heaven knows I have no desire to die now. So I wouldn't be there if I thought that it was going to be unsafe. And that goes for anyone. I think that you're safer than going in the subway. Much, much safer.
Dr. Ben, would you kindly explain to the sisters and brothers about the fact that you do live in Egypt so you know what you're talking about?
Oh, yes. I reside in Egypt. I spent about 8 months of the year when you count it in Egypt and the rest between here and elsewhere. And I have residency. So I am living the dual citizen life. Anybody else could do it, I'd do it. And I see it. I could give you some statistics. For example, there's a rape mentioned in Egyptian papers, maybe 1 rape in every other week or month. 1 in the whole country. But you know what happened? And the rapist is generally found. If he's found by the police before the family catch him, the family catch him, he's dead immediately. The police catch him, he's dead after the trial. So they're going to shoot him in the morning and bury him before sundown. What is a rape? A sister walking the street, a man don't know you and touch you, and you call the police, that's rape. And he dies. Give you the law. What is the penalty for smoking 1 reefer? Upon you found guilt, 25 years. You got a pack? It's 20 in a pack? 20 times 25 years. No time for good behavior. You don't need that good behavior because you get 20 to 25 years. And the point is that when they got you, they're going to get the pusher. Because by the time the judge see you, and you standing up, you don't have anything broken, the judge is going to ask, what was this man arrested for? And you said drugs, and you say, he's still standing up. You said rape, he says, still standing on his 2 feet. You understand me? They'll entertain your head as a baseball coat. And then you're going to tell who the pusher is. Do you know in Egypt how they come for a pusher? They bring a unit out of the army, and they block out 4 blocks square, and they come house to house, apartment, everybody's apartment. They're going to find a pusher, and he better shoot it up because good night. By tomorrow morning, he would have seen the ancestors. Now, in that country, you don't have a problem of crimes. I leave my house and the light go out on the street. I don't look up. It doesn't mean a thing. I never worry about it. There's a little park there where I live, and I go there and sit down. The air get cool sometimes and just sleep. I tell you, you go to some place and you leave your pocketbook. People run behind you. Then you leave the pocket because they don't want you to go to the police and say, I think I left my pocketbook in that store. And then come back and don't find it because the police get crazy. And they're going to find it because some ass is going to be whipped. Head going to be busted. So people come run you down to give you your wallet. Because they don't want, and if that place got the name that somebody lost a wallet in there, they better go to business because nobody else coming to buy anything in there. So that's the kind of society. There are other things wrong, of course, but this is one of the things that you got to say. You go to the bank, you don't go behind a wall with a glass and anything like. The banker sit down with you like this, and he got $100,000 there, or she, and she say, "I'm going to the bathroom, excuse me," and leave you there with 100,000. Nobody worry about you taking anything. They know you ain't going to take anything. Because if you do, it's the last thing you took. Hotep, sir.
It's good that you came out. It's good to see you. And I hope that God is back because always will take your help.
Thank you.
I have two questions. One is, how many languages do you speak, including dead languages or so-called dead languages? And the second question is, can you give some clarity on Akhenaten's concept of monotheism, being that all the other major religions use it?
Well, the first question is approximately 7 foreign languages, but then I speak languages that are considered dialect, and then I read some languages that are, in fact, what they mean dead, it means it could be read, but no one can speak it since that we don't have vowels for it. And a good one would be what you call Medunecha. Some people going around saying that they speak in Medunecha. That's just what it is. You can't speak it because there's no vowel. The European added some vowel to try to, communicate with each other. And there are more than one such language. And there are many languages in which we have not, no one seems to have decoded yet along the Nile and elsewhere. The second part of your question was, Akhenaten. Well, monotheism, the difference, there was always a monotheistic religion in Egypt. What happened is, in the case of Ra, and Ra is much more like what the Christians, Jews, and Muslims have. The Christians, Jews, and Muslims say, "Thou shalt have no other God before me," no other God before Jehovah, no other God before Christ, and no other God before Allah. That was said already for Ra. There should be no God before Ra. The uniqueness of Akhenaten is he did not say no other before me. Those two are saying you can have any God you want, but I must be first. Akhenaten said no. Akhenaten said there is only one God. That's the distinction. They didn't give room for any other to be less than. He just said there's only one God, and his name is Aten.
What's up, Dr. Ben? How you doing?
Very well.
Great, great. First of all, thank you very much for your years of scholarship and sharing that scholarship with us. We very much appreciate it, very humbly. Question I'd like to ask you, to assist me in my arguments. What was the first book in what is commonly referred to as the Bible, and at what date was it written?
Well, if you're dealing with the Bible, and you're speaking of the Judeo-Christian Bible, book of the Old Testament, but it's called the Old Testament by the Christian, the first book was the book of Exodus. And that came out of the Sanhedrin about 700 before the Common Era. In 200 BC, before the Christian era, because of an argument with Rabbi Hillel and Rabbi Agrippa, talking about the Jews were coming out of Egypt, and there is no proof or no statement about where they came from. They decided to have something stating where the Jews, and that created the need for the book of Genesis. And in 200 BCE, they produced the book of Genesis, or the book of beginnings.
Dr. Ben, you should mention your book, African Origins of Major Western Religions.
What? Yeah, I generally don't mention it, but that will give you a whole thing on the Judeo-Christian Islamic origin, and it's the basis in the adaptation of many of the religious principles along the Nile.
Marriage, according to Dr. Ben-Jochannan, is one of the most vital institutions that has suffered as a result. He calls attention to the fact that marriage has become a failed institution within the black community, not because of a cultural shortcoming, but because of a shift away from African customs and toward Western ideas that often disregard the spiritual and communal purpose of union. He insists that by restoring African-centered values around marriage, community, and family, we can rebuild a strong and self-sustaining community. Dr. Ben-Jochannan contrasts the outcomes of living by our oppressor standards with the flourishing results of embracing our traditions. When black people follow the cultural patterns of those who enslaved and colonized them, the consequences are often destructive, leading to broken families, self-hatred, and community division. But when African people live by their ancestral teachings, rooted in ma'at and collective responsibility, they create nurturing environments that promote wholeness and generational strength. Finally, Dr. Ben-Jochannan offers a sobering but empowering truth. The path to uplifting our people is filled with sacrifice and loss, whether it is financial, social, or personal. He assures us that what we give up is far outweighed by what we build, the love, respect, and trust of a people who are empowered and awakened. In reclaiming ma'at, Dr. Ben-Jochannan insists we reclaim our identity, our families, and our future.